Well, my little partner in crime here. Shy and I have been working on that pass all year. I feel like just the willingness for her as a center back to be able to play that ball into me as a midfielder or like rolling into midfield is huge. I feel like that has really like changed our ability to be dangerous and get on the switch. So like big shout out to her there. And then yeah, we talked about like how can we exploit the opposite side. And as soon as I played that ball to Raylan, I was like, okay, like get on your horse, Olivia. You need to freaking get in the box. And then as soon as I saw that ball pop out, I was like, all right, I'm gonna rocket this. Like I no thought, just like connect with the ball and freaking get it on target. So yeah, I mean, I definitely think any goal kind of changes the momentum for your team. So we were happy to get that before half. But yeah, definitely just a team effort on that one. So.
Center back perspective, I was thinking of like it seemed like there was a lot of pressure that you guys were absorbing in the first half, but you know, seemed like it ultimately paid off as far as getting a goal. What did you see in terms of the difference between the first half and the second, in terms of what you guys were able to do defensively to execute the game?
Yeah, I definitely think it took us a little bit to get into the game, which is not necessarily what we want, but I do think that is a credit to us for figuring things out and kind of working through it. And I think as the game went on, we grew into it and were able to kind of figure things out from an organizational perspective on defense. So I think it was just a matter of really settling into the game for us and kind of like we knew what needed to be done and just kind of executing. Because again, we didn't really start, I don't think, the way we wanted to.
All right, go ahead, Leo.
Yeah, I guess I'm just kind of wondering what the vibe around the team is coming out of this. Obviously, a really good goal from Liv earlier on, and then letting in a goal in the second half, kind of drawing it, and then also historically Kerry being a place that the Thorns don't necessarily have the best record, and still being able to take a point out of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think two things can be true at once. Obviously, when you score first, you want to win. And I do think there was a feeling of we could have walked away from here with 3 points. So on the one hand, that's definitely frustrating. But at the same time, I do think we did a good job of kind of weathering the storm, and we did have to grit it out. I think there were so many people who came up big defensively, especially in the second half. And so I think we can definitely be proud of that. And especially, again, as Liv mentioned, that goals do change games. So for us to be able to come back after they scored and continue to play and not let them get another one while also trying to find our own game-winning goal, I think that is something to be proud of. So lots to learn and build on going into next week.
All right, Book, any questions from you?
Sorry, I forgot to raise my hand. Yeah, Liv, could you just kind of talk to us about just the chemistry in midfield? Obviously, it's taken a little bit of time to gel, but you all have stepped up, especially in the past few weeks, months, and then obviously culminating with your goal. And then just would love to hear your thoughts on just the chemistry there.
Yeah, I think something that just coming into this year, I feel like people were just skeptical of just us in general as a team. Like, could we make it work? Could we figure it out? Lots of injuries, and I just think like, yeah, I believed that we were going to be able to do it the whole time. I think for that to finally kind of start really showing, I feel like it's been happening all season, but for us to really start reaping the rewards of that and all the work we've put in to make it work, I'm just really happy about that. I feel like obviously the longer you get to play with someone, the more you get to really like feel it out. And I feel like the kind of midfield unit, as we like to call it, like we've worked really hard on that, both on and off the field, like always talking, always doing film, like really wanting to feel that for me as a midfielder, obviously playing a little bit out of position, but like still that's where I am at heart. And so that's where I'm going to find myself. And I think like, yeah, just the people around me being willing to be like, yeah, we can find each other. And the more that we can do that, like the more dangerous our team can be. I think it's exciting to really see that kind of start to pay off. So.
Yeah, and then go ahead.
But I just do think that I just think that our midfield does work so hard, and maybe sometimes if we have like a string like that doesn't end in a goal, it maybe goes unnoticed. But I think even again, Liv today started that goal in our half and then got on her horse for 60 yards and got in the box to put it in the net. And I think that is just one example of all the work that our midfielders do day in and day out. And they're covering ground for us and doing so much. So even when maybe they're not the ones scoring the goals, they're constantly putting in work for us. And so I'm so happy that she is scoring the goal and getting her flowers for that too. But like the work behind the scenes and every day is so good too. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to add.
Yeah, no worries at all. Liv, just with the follow up, you were talking about how it's kind of been there all season. Looking at the metrics, you all have kind of done certain roles really, really well. Obviously, you create so many chances, listed in the top few players and chances created. Jesse, with her assist, but also just her work rate, and just everyone's done such a really established role at this point. Can you kind of just talk to us about just kind of the understanding a little bit more in midfield as well?
Yeah, I just think everyone has really come into themselves. I think Jesse, like now being able to be here for a couple years and really just like continuing to play with the same group of players, like me and her, our relationship has grown a lot, both on and off the field. And I just think you can see that. I just think for all of us as midfielders, like the more we get to do it and the more we get to talk about it and the more we get to watch it, the better it gets. And so I just really feel like we've had the ability to get comfortable, and then therefore you kind of see like each person's talent come out a little bit, and that's just been fun. I enjoy playing with that group of players, and I think in general our team like as a complete unit, we are just very together, despite the fact that sometimes the results haven't been exactly what we wanted. Like I feel like our response every time has been very impressive. I feel like we've gritted through a lot this year, and we still have numerous games to go. So I do like, I'm just really proud of the team, and I feel like yes, that's happening in the midfield, but it's happening everywhere else as well. The defensive unit has been huge this year, and I just think like we are just kind of climbing and going like this, and I'm just excited for us to finish the year, and I think we can do that in a really strong way. So
Yeah, and then
I'll go back to Roy. I'll come back to you, Luke.
So mentioned the great defensive performances we said. I'm going to give you a chance to give people the flowers there. What were a couple of examples that stand out? It's like not necessarily going to be the play that like would be big on social media or whatever, but the sort of thing that when you go to the film room, you're going to be like what were the examples that stood out to you?
I mean, I think, well, these probably might be in the highlight reel, but I do think Mac made some massive saves for us and definitely came up big when we needed her to. I think Issa and Reina, I honestly think everyone in the back line did so well, especially when they started playing more balls in behind, like being able to recover in with some of their pacey forwards. Like that's kind of the unseen work maybe that you're talking about. And also everyone in the midfield too, the amount of times that Sam was tracking players in the box, Hina, everyone, even, the forwards coming back too to help. So I think it really was a collective effort of everyone wanting to come together and first wanting to win, and then once it was tied, like wanting to get out of here with a point.
All right, go ahead, Luke.
Yeah, Sam, they, North Carolina played a lot more direct in the second half, and they were playing through the flanks a lot more as well. Did any of that kind of, surprise y'all? And also just kind of what kind of, especially holding on to the point towards the end, and just the defensive effort, like you're mentioning about the midfield, even the forwards clearing things out. What can kind of help the team, moving forward with that as well?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say surprised. I feel like from it's maybe not necessarily North Carolina's like characteristic style of play. But at the same time, I think when you're chasing a game, that is a tactic that if you're defending a lead, you need to be ready for. And then I think, again, kind of Liv touched on it, but I just think we just have a very tight-knit group this year. And I think you can see that in the way that everyone works for each other in the little things, both offensively and especially, again, defensively, just tracking back, tracking runners, and kind of doing the dirty work. So I think really credit to all the lines today from front to back for doing that, especially in the second half towards the end there.
All right, we're going to go ahead and conclude today's post-match with Sam and Olivia. Thank you both. We're going to go ahead and bring Rob next.
thank you.
Thank you.
Leo, we're going to get started with Rob. As always, 15 minutes. Raise your hands. We'll go ahead and start with who raises their hands first. And Rowie left to the other press conference. It's just you two now. All right, go ahead, Leo.
Yeah, thoughts on the game?
Took a while to get going as a game, I think. Both teams. For us, it was use of the ball again through the midfield, not great. And it looked like we were playing with 6 at one end of the field and 4 at the other end of the field. So that's what we tried to fix as the game went on and get those connections. Because we didn't need so many players in the build, especially with Mac's feet. So that got better when we opened it up and we started to switch. That's how we got the goal, what we'd worked on. So I was pleased to go in at 1-0 up. Didn't think they'd had many quality chances, but nor did we in the first half. And then second half, they're going to come at you and change it a little bit more. We had to change shape a couple of times. We're just a little bit passive in our block. trying to get pressure on the ball. And then you saw late on, I was disappointed with the goal. The ball was rolling. We got fouled, didn't get given. They got a foul. Our Rainer's not got it. So I was really disappointed in how the goal came about. The ref said she'll have a look at it because she thought she'd missed it. And then the ball's rolling and we've got turned around off of a set piece. But I thought Mackenzie Arnold was outstanding tonight. And then we shored it up with the back five late on with JP just to deny those spaces. But at the other side of it, Peyton Linehan's got over the top twice. Pietra Thorns got in over the top. Liv Moultrie, their keepers, made a couple of big saves. And I think a draw was probably a fair result on XG and a number of actual chances. Yes, they got the ball in wide areas and put it in, but a lot of the time we had bodies there and it was just aimless balls into the box from them. So I think a fair result. Honestly, history of our club here. I think we've only got a point once on the road here, maybe one win in 2021. And so it's a point well earned. And we'll bring that back at home for an easy one next week against Kansas.
You got a follow-up, Leo?
Yeah, you kind of mentioned Mac a little bit in the build-up and obviously had several really key saves in the game. I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit more about her performance tonight, and kind of what she's brought to the team this week.
Yeah, I mean, absolute international class goalie, made 2 big saves when we needed them. Really unlucky on the goal. We know she's good with her feet. What we needed to do was push a midfield higher or a fullback higher to get numbers when we played into their front line, because they're so ball oriented. We know that they'll step and jump on us in the press, and the ball to the outside back, whether it's a fullback or a centre back in a wide position, is the trigger for 3 and 4 players to press. And we knew we needed to turn them around and use the ball. We just didn't do that well enough and didn't play switching the ball from side to side and point of attack as well as we could. But yeah, Matt gives us that dimension where she can clip it into the front very comfortably. And then the opposite side of her game, like I said, 2 big saves are big moments, and really unlucky for her on a goal. I think she deserved to keep a clean sheet today, even if it was a fair result.
Go ahead, Boog.
Yeah, Rob, I'm just curious what your thoughts are from, the difference between the first and second half. First half, closer to a 50-50 split for possession. Second half, North Carolina, had the ball majority of the time, I think 60% second half. Can you just kind of talk to us about the differences that you noticed between those halves?
Yeah, just us adjusting the block a little bit and knowing that we'd then get more chances in behind. So if you look at that, we actually created a higher XG second half and much better chances to win the game. So we gave up a little bit of the ball, knowing the areas that they tried to get into. The only thing we weren't dealing with was when they started throwing on Shaw and Muir and the little combination play. We needed to be a little more aggressive in the front line to deny the bottom of their midfield box. And then it wouldn't have caused us so much problem. So, yeah, we adjusted. I felt we could have been a little bit more aggressive at times, but it was hot, muggy. I've never felt tireder in my life than I did at lunchtime today. I'm not going to lie. This is an ache of a trip. I must have slept for 2 hours and woke up feeling like I was in a coma. It was crazy. So it's a tough ask for the players to commit in the humidity, in the heat, with the fatigue factor. But I was really pleased how they saw it out late on. And like you say, we gave up a little bit of possession, but at the opposite side of that, we knew it would give us more space to stretch a line when we brought on a Dana and a Peeps and Pietra, Liv, all had good chances that another day, we could have had 2 or 3 here.
Yeah, and then Rob, they played very direct in the second half. Did that surprise you, at all? Just because in the first half they looked like they were trying to play their style, and then they kind of broke out of that for the second half.
No, I think that's one of the aims that Nathan's had since he's taken charge, is try and create more of an attacking threat. And they get into those pockets and get into wide areas, but then their final ball is just a little bit fizz it in and like throwing it in like a hand grenade. So what we were doing, as you saw in the first half and the second half, was being aggressive with the opposite side centre back, making sure we stepped into those pockets. If you do that and then the centre back has time and space, they're going to knock it long. And that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to bypass our centre back stepping into the pocket. And that's why I felt we just needed to adjust the line a little bit. give a bit of ground. We still need to be a little bit better, being more aggressive on their back line. But obviously, you've got to give up some space somewhere, and especially late on by bringing JP on. I didn't want it to be between centre back and fullback.
Yeah, and then Rob, Torden came off, the game a little early. Any concerns there, just moving forward?
No, that's probably the most minutes she's played from a starting game perspective. So no concerns.
Yeah, and then last one for me, just you were talking about the Kansas City game. Obviously, it's going to be a big game, like you mentioned. And then you were talking about you just wish the front line attacked the back line of North Carolina a little bit more. What are things that you need to see heading into next week to make a big match out of that?
Yeah, I think we've got to be us at home. That's what we need to see. We need to see what we saw against Orlando, Gotham, Seattle. Everybody was coming to our patch and felt the heat because we thought these were direct. Kansas City doesn't play through their midfield. They're very direct. They've got obviously elite talent in the front line, and then they get their midfielders high and start picking up second balls, but they're going to bypass it. They're going to get onto our back line very, very quickly. So we've got to get that right, make sure that we're accessing it. I thought we did in the first game of the season. The second half of that, we were very, very good against Kansas away. And we started to put pressure on them. And you remember we got the penalty at 3-1 with 15 to go and could have got ourselves back in the game. So I think we know what we need to do. It's obviously a tough challenge. They're unbeaten. They've spent money as a football club like no other club in the league over the last 3 years to try and get instant success, and they're doing very, very well with it. So we will have to be on our guard, but we're at home. We'll have our fans right behind us. This is a very good point away from home in the grand scheme of things, and we're right in the thick of it. So testament to the players, and they're going to be ready. We get home, we get rested, give them a couple of days off, and get right back on the front foot next weekend.
Just to make sure, any other questions from you, Leo?
Good, thanks.
All right, that concludes today's post-match availability. I'll make sure to send a recording of today's availability in the Slack or to you directly. Thank you and good
Thanks,
night.
Rob.
Thanks, guys.